Well, that worked. Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 30th, 2025 at approximately 9:01 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's calling to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as the spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the one day I'll figure this out. The tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years, depending on their own personal level, personal effort with their success. that worked out well. So we've completely botched the lead in. That being said, hats off to Storm. He's the one that runs the technical side of things. He's our primary moderator to keep the problem children out. Now, something very important to understand. We cut it real tight tonight because even with Frank, with all these gifts and technology, even he runs into problems because the link he sent me, I put to use, I didn't register there. Welcome to my impact on technology. So we're here anyway. Now that said, we have LA and LA Moon in the house. She is the primary moderator inside the chat room and helps keep things operating and running in a smooth level. The one thing about this stream is I have always held it's got to, as much as possible, be maintained as a safe zone for virtually everybody. So before we get into it now, as you can tell, if you look at the title, we didn't have anything sorted out. Well, the weekend was a bit of a box job. But today, we are looking at your past life. How did I put that? Because we haven't got that modified. Where are we here? Your past life memories of another race. Okay, in other words, of life as another race. Now, we've often talked about this idea of reincarnation, coming back as another human, but there are a staggering number of you that have memories about another race, another civilization that wasn't human. Okay, we're going to be looking at that today and explaining a few very important factors. But before we get into it, we have Operation Shutdown. You are in with the gold today. Glad you could make it. And I know things are hectic for you most of the time. Joe Stewart, you are in with silver. And yes, I'm already starting to plan things for January. Things are a nightmare where it comes to energy levels around me. Renee Andrews, you are in with the bronze tonight. Welcome aboard. Now, there are many of you I've talked to that have said, oh, I'm not human. I am an alien from another planet, and you'll specify the alien. Now, I love the ones that turn around and go, I'm a purebred Pleiadian. Something we got to understand about purebred Pleiadians. If you were a purebred Pleiadian, you're already dead, so you're not in the chat room. Purebred Pleiadians cannot survive in Earth's atmosphere. But that's a fair trade-off. Humans can't survive in Pleiadian atmosphere. Okay, now, here's a couple of markers for you. Take a look, and I'm not debating whether your memories of a past life as an alien are legitimate. And by the way, we're dealing with today and tomorrow on alien topics. Okay, same ones we were planning originally, but frankly, family emergencies precluded coming on this weekend. So, we're dealing with this one tonight, and tomorrow we are going to be looking at migration of the ancient races. Ancient races being people like the Alphid, the Kaldar, the Gron, Okay, you know them as elves, dwarves, and minotaurs. Okay, but we'll get to them tomorrow. Now, a couple of things to help you sort things out in your own head. And absolutely, people, if you've got a question, pop it up in all caps so I can get to it. Okay, that way we can answer it as clearly as possible. Where are we here? Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Well, nope, we didn't. Now, take a look in the mirror. If you look human, okay, understand it's kind of like the vehicle thing. Okay, some of you drive a Ford, some drive a Toyota, some of you drive a Chevy. You get the idea. Your body is still a vehicle. Now, the human soul, the soul, which goes into every living organism, sometimes takes on a human body, sometimes otherwise. Now, of course, I don't know about you, but I've got my Class 6 license, which means I'm legally still able to ride a motorcycle, at least up here in Canada. I don't know what the rest of the world works like. Okay, with that in mind, when I first swapped over from a motorcycle to a car, I remembered what I was doing on the motorcycle way more than what I've been doing in the car. Joe's just telling us here, most of my past life memory and past life experience happened in the backyard at night. I'm just not going to touch that. That's way too easy of a setup there, Joe. But the reality of it is, when you're looking at past lives are simply what happened before this one, this lifetime. Look in the mirror. If you have most of the accepted standard issue accoutrements, things like 2 eyes set up on a binocular feed. You got one mouth, you got 2 arms, 2 legs. Odds are you're in a human body. Okay, now where it gets to be a little screwy is some of you have some pretty, shall we say, intriguing complications. Okay, one of the biggest tricks to look at is take a look at your medical. Okay, odds are your body is going to require standard Terran food. You don't believe me? Stop eating. This is a bad idea, people. It leads to headaches, lightheadedness, and usually passing out. Okay. But your body undoubtedly responds to actual human food. Now, I've talked to people that go, oh, I'm a breatharian. And what a breatharian apparently is somebody that literally survives on breathing the air. Now, this takes a whole idea, in my opinion, of pollution to an all new disastrous high. If you're getting the nutrients out of the air, you're in the wrong place. Okay. Now, the dangerous part that we got to look at, and you can always put these things to the test. Okay, tell you what, you're a breatharian, you can live on just straight breathing. I suggest you have a hospital backup ready, because I will virtually guarantee your body won't handle it well. From what I gather, I might be off on the time frames, but from what I gather, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without, 3 days without water, or 3 weeks without food, and you have a completely debilitating problem. Now, I don't know what word I'm supposed to use, because apparently people get really edgy about the ones that make sense. Okay, so I'm just going to let you fill in the blank as to what happens if you don't get to eat, breathe, or drink. But there is no doubt somewhere back along the line, you lived life as a non-human. No doubt at all, at least not from my standpoint. Okay, now, one thing we have to remember, well, it would be wise to remember, so many people I talk to will pick a person out of history and go, I was that person. Okay, now I will tell you, I've had memory runs where I've remembered very clearly walking into a place with a very different outlook. Okay, where I remember layouts. I remember working the hub as a Xerxes. Now, Xerxes are not human, by the way. They really aren't. But, Woo, you are in with honorable mention. How you doing, Woo? You know, there is no doubt you may well have a memory as a non-human. Okay? It's not where you came from that matters. That, by the way, would be a light bulb trying to burn out. Okay? And it probably will within the next day or so. But I have no doubt you've got memories as a non-human. But something to keep in mind. In today's world, okay? Well, Will goes, yes, and most are lying about who they were. When they say I was Cleopatra, etc., man, I've heard that so many times, it's sickening. You know, and that's just it. There was a Cleopatra. One. Okay, and by the way, much as in my past life, I did meet William Shakespeare. Let's be clear, I was not William Shakespeare. I also was involved in the gladiatorial revolt that Spartacus started. I was not Spartacus. Most of your past lives, much like your life nowadays, were probably low grade whatever you were doing. Okay. Now the thing is, you may have real clear memories about a past life, and they may well not be human, but something you got to keep in mind. At least it would be wise to. Very important that you take a look in the mirror and go, okay, that's the body I've got. Now, if your body responds to modern medicine, hate to be the one to pop your bubble. Well, no, I don't. But this lifetime, you're in a human body. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant to me. Okay? I don't care if you believe in gravity. I'll tell you. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to really screw you up if you trip at the top of the stairs. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to that have told me they themselves were the second coming, that they themselves have returned. Okay, I talked to one, he was great. According to him, he had come back to save everybody, and he went into the bar, and he was saving people in the nightclubs. For some weird reason, he found that people always sat away from him. I'm not sure why. Will goes, I was a drunk sailor in the past. Will, I'm starting to think you might have been a drunk individual this lifetime. Lord knows, and no offense intended, I drank way more than my fair share of alcohol this lifetime. Way more. Okay. Hey, look, people, don't pray to that. That light bulb overhead, if you're praying to it and it pops, I've seen it by practical experience. If that light bulb goes out while you're praying to it, it could cause problems. But you may well remember a past life, okay, as a different race. Okay, I've met a lot of people that have claimed various history and various memories. Yeah, LA goes, I agree. Most past lives were very mundane and usual. I remember being in Pompeii. Okay, well, more to the point, I was above Pompeii. That was fun. Not. Okay, I could go over all kinds of ones I've been through. The important factor from your standpoint is this. I'm not here to tell you whether you had a past life or not. Okay, or what it was. But I will tell you the odds of you being a major player in ancient history, the odds are not good. Now, I've had people identify me, and I'm not going to tell you which one, so don't even bother asking. Okay. Rachel, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Blue Cruise, you are in. And what have we got here? We'll go. Not really drank too much in 2012. I did a few months, mostly Moscato wine. And by the look of that, I take it Moscato is a red wine by the look of that picture. And bottle every night after work for a few months. That was the worst of it. And also when I was 21 and 22. But that was curiosity. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. And I don't usually talk about how much, right? But I do remember that I used to drink Black Tower wine. I'll tell you, Black Tower wine, I got it because the bottle looked medieval. I was running with the SCA at that time. Operation. I'm not about to tell you the big one. Operations going, Keith, have you ever met anyone in this lifetime that you also knew in a past life? The short answer is yes. Okay. I met my not my ex-girlfriend. Well, I guess technically she was my ex-girlfriend. My girlfriend in 1820 that was murdered in 1828. We met this lifetime. Okay. She recognized me before I recognized her. And her current husband took me out to their place for dinner once we established who we were. Right. Now that's one. Okay. I met a gentleman from that I knew in Atlantis. I met another one that I knew in, now what was the name of it? I forget the name of the civilization. Northern coast of Crete. Okay. I forget what the name was offhand, what the name of the city of the civilization was offhand. Storm, I'm pretty certain you know which civilization was on the northern border of Crete at the time that Zero went off.
I think that was the Minoan culture.
That was. Thank you very much. I was pulling a blank on the name. I met a gentleman that was on the shore at the same time when Mount Zero went off. Okay, and took out the Minoan culture. And I'm not going to tell you the number of people that I've run into that have identified me as literally the same person from one specific lifetime with various different occurrences depending on the person and the situation. Okay, not to worry about the flickering lights. I got a light bulb about to burn out. Okay, so yeah, I've got a lot of memories. Even one of my really close friends was with me way back when we broke out of prison at one point together. Okay, and just to make matters worse, I still have the ghost that hangs around my place now. I knew him way back in about 1600. Okay, where the two of us were both survived. We both survived the whole situation there. We're still friends to this day. Okay. As a matter of fact, the same guy I ran with back about 700 AD. So yeah, I've had a lot of lifetimes. Now those are all human. Okay. I've got a couple of friends that I knew way back from the alpha community. Okay. They live in what you call inner earth or potentially hollow earth. This is what I mean by I just got an exorbitant amount of memories from various lifetimes. Okay. The thing that I've got going for me is I can link most of them together. Now, from your standpoint, First rule of thumb, take a look at this lifetime. Past lives are great. They really are. You can learn a lot. Okay. One of my really good friends in the past was there with me during the Spanish Inquisition. The man was psychotic. He was absolutely brilliant in building torture weapons. And unfortunately, that was one of those lifetimes where I was absolutely brilliant at putting them to use. But when we start looking at these cultures, okay, when I say I've had past life memories, I've talked about the Srazazians. Okay, I've spent time with them. And I don't have a solid memory as far as a past life with them specifically, but I do remember the way that their entire, and I mean firsthand memory. I remember the way their entire civilization broke apart. Okay, and reformed itself. When you're looking at whether or not you were an alien in a past life, I almost go, take it for granted you probably were. Okay. Humans are not an ancient race. We have only been around for, I think if I recall correctly, about 2 million years. Wu goes, Wu goes, Keith, what was the reason you got into playing Dungeons and Dragons? Was it to escape from this reality? Honestly, I got into Dungeons and Dragons. My eldest brother brought me into it. But I got into it to learn how to communicate with people at all. I could not connect with people at all. I wasn't trying to escape from reality. I was trying to figure out how to operate within it. And considering I kept getting told I was nuts and getting bullied all the time, this put me in a place where I could relate to what was going on. I just didn't realize how much information was there that actually pertained to what I already knew. You know, when we start looking at the off-worlders, the ancient races, when you start looking at them and you realize these species all went through the same things humans are going through, different circumstances, different atmospheres. Okay, but they all went through the same circumstances. Okay, and it just boils down to this. You may have solid memories of a past life. Okay, but I will tell you, there are certain races that if you come here thinking you're still living under those rules, you may be severely disappointed. Okay, I mean, you think about it. When we take a look, when you take a look at the Srazazian culture, Srazazian, Sarkon, Tormenon, Kamalian, okay, all of them eat their dead. Okay, you start eating dead people in this world, I'm thinking there's going to be a problem. Okay, somebody may see you as a little off kilter. Okay, and whether you remember doing it in a past life or not isn't going to help your situation. Okay, one of the biggest things we have to realize, humans are just a wee little itsy bitsy race on the blip. Okay, but many of you have had experiences as other races. The question you got to ask, did you learn anything from them? If you're going to remember what you were doing, remember what you learned. Okay. All of those memories, any memory from past life that you've got, can be pulled up. Okay. You absolutely can. Now, people have asked me where I get all the information from the various races. Well, we got to realize my memories date back literally further than your brain is likely to wrap itself around. Okay. But over all these years, over all these lifetimes, I met some phenomenally wonderful people. Oh, whoa, that's great. Have you guys ever? I'm just nosy at this point. Okay, have you by any chance actually managed to meet each other? Ah, okay. Now, LA's gone. There's a few Aboriginal cultures in Southern Asia that consume the dead, but it's a gesture of reverence, respect, and love. Yeah, and I have no doubt about that. I will tell you though, LA, I'm thinking if somebody does that in today's world, we may in Western society, this may not be looked upon well. Let's take a look at, for example, Jeffrey Dahmer. Not exactly a upstanding citizen in many people's eyes. Joe, brilliant question. Joe Stewart is asking, how can I find out for myself for a past life of my own? Easiest trick in the book. Okay, now you find yourself a comfortable chair. Do this when you're wide awake. Do not do this when you're tired, because if you do, okay, because if you do this and you're tired, you'll get a great night's sleep. But find a comfortable place, sit down, put your feet up, and just simply listen to your heartbeat. I don't mean don't bother putting your hand on your throat or on your wrist. You just sit there with your legs out and you relax. Okay, track your heartbeat. This will put you into a lower energetic state. But when you're relaxing, keep either a pen and paper handy, or better yet, in all likelihood, is probably an audio recording device. When you get an idea, a feeling in your head, do not try and put it together. Just say what you're feeling. I.e., like when I was first remembering Pompeii, I remembered being out in the wheat fields, and I really can't call them wheat. Okay, simply because I don't know what they were. I do know that they were consumable and they were up to about my chest. But I was out in the wheat field when I heard this earth-shattering boom. I went racing back with a buddy of mine. We went racing back towards Pompeii. But as the memory comes, just repeat what you're feeling. Just recite what you're feeling. Don't worry if it makes sense. Okay? Go with first thought. Okay? Let it all come out. It may only be a bit at a time, but let it all come out. Then you can go back over it, listen to it, and write it down. What that will do is help paint a picture. Now, I'll give you the almost exact same advice that my eldest brother gave me when I asked him about the veracity of a given lifetime. He says, I laid out exactly what I was remembering and what I had experienced. And I said, okay, I don't need to know if this is right, wrong, or indifferent. I need to know what to do with it. I require guidance on how to handle this. So he goes, okay. So I laid it all out, and he looks at me and he goes, Keith, you're talking about past life memories. So you're not getting proof. All you're getting is circumstantial evidence. Okay. So he says, what you do, and this is directly to you, Joe, and to anyone, to anyone that is looking to remember your own past lives. Write it all down. Okay. Write it down. Absolutely. Treat it as though it is real. But keep an eye open for that one piece of information that may derail the whole 9 yards. Now, myself, I have literally always relied on other people to go, I remember you from this past life. Okay. It was my friend that identified me from the wheat field when we broke up out of the chain gang from prison. Okay. It was my ex-girlfriend from 1828 that told me, that confirmed who I was. I didn't tell her. Okay. She simply told me. And I corroborated it because I remembered bits of her life as well. I was remembered by a chap from Manoa, by another chap from Atlanta. Okay. And the big one, I'm not even touching. Okay. I will tell you, in 1760 in southern Louisiana, I was a slave trader. Okay. I was a plantation owner. And I was lucky. Okay. Well, I was stubborn, not necessarily lucky. Okay. But I also remember a number of things, not the least of which was the Moldakian arrival on Earth. I remember watching it happen. Now, to be clear, I wasn't a Moldok, nor was I Laborian. At least not at that time. Okay. I do remember very clearly living a Laborian lifetime, which, by the way, Laborians are approximately 7 feet tall, feline in appearance and temperament. Okay. But we had a real simple rule where it came to war. You killed. You didn't look forward to war. You literally were at war because it was a territory thing. And we were some violently territorial. Okay. Humans fight. What humans do is according to what I recall with other lives, with other species, human war, and you're going to love this one. I'm a pacifist this lifetime. I really am. Okay. But I've seen wars. The wars that humans have are sandbox squabbles. Okay. It's that simple in my eyes. Now, let us be clear. I have no use for war myself. I've got no use for violence except in video games, on movies, with role-playing games, as in Dungeons and Dragons, or with mutually agreed upon combat interaction. Things like your MMA. You want to get into an MMA ring, into a mixed martial arts fight match, go right ahead. Okay. It's a proven fact. Humans have to have a way of releasing the negative energy, of releasing that tension. Myself, I'm allergic to pain. Okay. So I just don't go there. But if you do that, Joe, if you sit down and just write down, even if you sit down and you get comfortable and you write what comes to mind on pen and on paper, okay, write what it feels like. You may want to chalk it up to your imagination. Go right ahead. For the longest time, like probably the one lifetime that I'm not going to tell you about, okay, I probably spent 5-6 years, maybe longer. Let me think. That would have been 2007. Be about a decade that I sat there going, it would have been close to a decade that I sat there going, no, this memory is false. There is no way this is possible. And then about a decade later, I started having people come out of the woodwork. And I mean, just back to back identifying me. And my brother turns around and goes, treat it as though it's real. And my dad on his deathbed goes, all of your memories are real. All of your past life memories are absolutely real. I'm like, okay, I'm running out of ways of arguing the point. So I'm just not bothering. But no, even in today's world, I am not about to go into it, especially not on air. Okay. Some of you already have pieced things together, And if you want to ask me in private, you know how to find me. You know, LA's just going, yeah, I referring to the war thing. LA's going, me too. It breaks me out in fits of screaming. Way too much energy. And you know, it's real simple for me. I've watched in several lifetimes, several species where they've turned around and said, this is your spiritual path. You know, your God loves everybody. So why in blue blazes are you listening to people saying everybody was made by the same person? Let's just go to war. Okay. It doesn't work for me. Now, I have lived as a species, and I'll tell you, I was good at it. Okay. With the Teklex, and this is one of the reasons why I know how they operate. I spent a lifetime as one. Only I was one of the kids that survived. Okay. The trick with Teklex, you get hatched. Start knocking out the other eggs. Remove them from the equation. You know, kill the competition while it's still young. And I'll tell you, I was good at it. Okay. I was none too pleased when the older Teklex picked me up and drug me out of the hatchery and put me into another containment room. And that worked out well. I killed most of the people in there too. I was not a happy camper. Joe goes, I've got a paranormal question. It's summer here. It's getting dark later. It's thick in the backyard. Why no activity? I wish I could give you a definitive answer there, Joe. However, just a thought. Okay? Instead of watching for it, literally while you're watching out the backyard, okay, in your mind's eye, thank them for resurfacing. Will goes, I've always had a sense of connection with the medieval times and the Gilded Age period. And in all likelihood, this probably puts you as living that life. Okay? But I will tell you, you don't want to start claiming that you deserve special treatment because you happen to be a knight several centuries ago. Okay? But no, unfortunately, Joe, I really cannot give you a definitive answer as to why you're not getting a whole lot of activity. There could be any number of reasons, but I certainly wouldn't write your backyard off. You know, one of the neat things about having a past life memory as another race, okay, is that you can possibly relate to some of the mistreatment. And hopefully this means that you'll be able to treat people, the other people you meet nowadays from a different culture, a little bit more evenly. Okay, one thing I've found with people that have memories from another race is many times they have a better sense of acceptance of the differences amongst other people. See, now this is the neat thing. This is simply a globe. I don't know how they make them, but it's got a picture of the Milky Way inside it. Okay, I remember, literally, you see the size of this? I remember looking at it this size. All races are not human sized. Okay, they really aren't. But very important. Yes, yeah, I have not met, to be honest with you, and no, I'm going to start lying now. I have never met somebody that was only ever a human. Okay. Souls have been around for a very, very long time. Okay. And it's the soul that operates the various different vehicles. So when you're looking at your memories, okay, Maybe you clearly remember, you go to sleep and you remember waking up and watching the three moons going overhead. Okay. Maybe you see that clear as a bell. Okay. And you can't piece it together. Odds are that memory's real. Oh no, that's just somebody's imagination. That doesn't exist. It's amazing how many people I've talked to that work in the metaphysical field that go, oh, all this stuff is real. And the moment somebody claims to experience it, they go, that's not possible. You're just saying that to make to get some attention. I'm telling you, for those of you that have solid memories of past lives or of alien interaction, the last thing most of you are dealing with, Ferret, how are we going? How are things going? Well, Ferret goes, I got nothing as far as memories. And hello, everyone. I do that a lot. It's like mouth goes into gear and then, oh, by the way, hi, how you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you, Ferret. I keep telling people, you ever get into the Kelowna area, up in BC, Canada, and how do you find Kelowna? That's easy. Get on the I-5, head north, cross the border, it'll become Highway 97. Follow it up, you'll run into Kelowna, you can't miss it, because it literally is on Highway 97. Okay, and yes, I meet people regularly from, whenever they get into town. So if you ever decide to, you're more than welcome to. Okay, I'm not that hard to track down. And of course, now being in retirement, okay, frankly, I'm pretty open on scheduling. But where it comes to memories as another race, okay, I have some memories that are absolutely violent. Okay, I've got memories from this lifetime that were violent. Okay, but when I say I spent time as a tech-leg, understand, okay, there is a bit of a carryover I've noticed. Okay, those two fingers don't separate. Okay, like I can separate them, but bit of a pain in the neck. Okay, some memories you have will have a direct impact on your life this lifetime. Okay, I'm not going to tell you. If you tell me, oh, I remember living in the water of Venus, in the liquid soup that is Venus's water base. Well, liquid base. I think it's nitrogen. But since people live there, I'm not going to tell you couldn't. Okay. Rest assured, Venusians are not really great company on Earth. Number one, like they're great people, don't get me wrong. They have a problem. They can't breathe Earth's atmosphere. Okay. They can sort of breathe Earth's atmosphere underwater, but without them, because it is so low in the way of nutrient, they don't survive long. So we don't put them there. It's pretty cut and dry. Oh, we want to go there and see it. Well, take a rebreather. Okay, because you may have memories of a different racial lifetime. No doubt, you probably do. Nothing wrong with that. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you've got a problem with your memory or there's something wrong with you. It simply means you were driving a different vehicle at the time. Oh, for those of you that are receiving it. Oh, Joe goes, I tell you what, though, I'm so glad I write my dreams down in Dream Journal 5. No doubt. And I will tell you, Joe, go back through those and odds are you're going to find some references to past lives. Because dreams are the subconscious's way of revealing to you hidden memories, forgotten memories. See, the corporeal brain cannot contain all of the memories, so it contains a whole pile of hot links to your area in the Akashic Records. Okay, now, everybody can get to the Akashic Records, to their own Akashic Records. Getting to somebody else's can be a problem. Okay, but the fact you're writing your dreams in a journal, I still write my every morning. I fill out a journal. Okay, and because my fiance bought me a journal. Okay, she got me this one for Christmas. This one, I'm going through a lot of self-analysis, not just day-to-day stuff, but stuff on the way I'm looking at the world. I absolutely commend you, Joe. Having that dream journal undoubtedly contains more information in it than you're aware of. When you're looking at past lives, some of you will remember a past life, a lifetime that way, much more clearly. William, how we doing? Welcome aboard. I would love to give you an answer, but I'm not entirely certain who George Motz is. So this would indicate to me, not me. But how you doing, William? Glad you could join us. You know, the neat thing about past lives is if you've had enough of them, or if you've had the ones in the right locations. Like, for instance, I remember, and I was nobody in particular, but I remember living as an Elfid when the civilization started to buckle. I also remember being a Kaldar and letting the Elfid into our underground realm. Okay, now understand, those are ancient races that now live underground, live in what we call Hollow Earth or Inner Earth. Okay, nice part about it is I'm not going to question what your memories are. Okay, I'm really not going to question them at all. There is no doubt that you got memories, no doubt in my mind, that you got memories from another species. No doubt at all. Okay, if you are having trouble adjusting to this world because you remember that lifetime so well, then it's time to focus your energy on your human life. You don't have to like the fact you're here, but you do kind of have to tolerate it. Samuel, welcome aboard. Samuel, people, Samuel Gaffonian there is our newest moderator. Okay, and again, Sam, I know we covered this last week, but thank you so much for joining us. You know, the reality of it is everybody here, okay, we're doing our level best to make sure everybody is being treated as, you know, as friendly as we can get away with. It's got to remain a safe zone. Okay. Now, the nice little part about it, from your standpoint, is when we're looking at alien memories. Okay. I'm going to throw one out for you that's just absolutely, it's mind-boggling. Thank you so much, LA. Okay. I've got a lifetime. Okay. I spent a lot of time in outer space. I am not an astrophysicist or a specialist in astronomy. But I can tell you, and you're going to love this one, mankind will figure it out in about 200 years. I'm guessing. Okay. But our system, everybody thinks it's a single star. News for you. Okay. This is a trinary star system, but it is so spread out, humans will not, as they exist today, are not likely to know about it. Technology doesn't reach that far. Okay. I've been to the other side of it. Okay. And you can do with that what you will. The fact of the matter is, I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, you weren't that man, you didn't have that memory, or you weren't that person. I will caution you, though. Okay. You know, some people will say, well, this is, you know, I was this person in the past. And somebody will argue the point, you could be. It doesn't say that anywhere in history. Newsflash, guys, history books don't tell you what happened. They tell you what happened from the perspective of the victors. Where are we here? The nice part about this is whatever memory you feel you've got, I'm not going to tell you whether it's right or wrong. I will get to remind you to absolutely live your life as though that's real, but absolutely follow the modern laws. Okay? Because I don't know about you, but I really don't fancy waking up one day in a rubber room. Okay? What do we got here? One of the things that we have to look at is when we're looking at alien past lives, they aren't going to fit under standard, they're not going to fit under standard memory. In other words, humans and Strazazians, humans and Gadefni, humans and the Gran do not have the same outlook on life. Okay? They just don't. One of the nice little things about it is once you come to terms with the fact, then it doesn't matter what your past life memory is. If you remember being on another planet, no problem. Hang on to it. Write it out. Okay. Absolutely write out your memory as you remember them. Okay. Very important little factor here. Okay. Because that may be what triggers it. It may be nothing. This is why I tell you. If you wake up just remembering, what do we got here? I am not repeating that. Will goes, and we'll paraphrase. Will goes, that old saying, just play around and find out what comes to mind and is fitting. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Camille, how you doing? Glad you could join us. We are getting new people in here today. This is exactly what we were waiting for. And, let's see, raise a hand. How many people realize they're in this room? I love it. I was, I spent a long time staring at the wall going, why am I here? Okay. But, as I said, I'm going to keep this stream running. I am, and I've already told Joe this. I will be going back on to a day in the office. I'll get things sorted around before the end of this year in order to get back to it in January of 2026. Okay. But the important factor here is if you've got memories that you can't quite piece together but don't seem entirely human, don't panic on it. Write them down. And absolutely, and here's an open offer for you. If you write one down that doesn't add up and you can't figure out how it fits together, okay, maybe, and this is just one of those neat little races I know of, okay, maybe you remember being a race that didn't add up, and the only thing you could remember is the forearm was absolutely huge. For those of you that are my age, you'll remember a chap by the name of Popeye. Great big forearms. Okay, but there is a race that literally their stomach is in their forearm. I appreciate that, Joe. I really do. And, it's just been, technology has been a royal nightmare. Okay, so we are doing our best to find a way around it. And like I said, I may get back into the day in the office earlier. We've had to move it to this point simply because of the fact I kept going to fire up the day in the office and it would buckle. The technology wouldn't hold. So that's why I run into the problem. Now, absolutely, you know, for those of you that are floating around, that are still debating, well, I've got these memories. I know they can't be of Earth because, well, I remember looking down my face, and I could see I had a trunk, and I don't have that big of a nose now. Okay. Fair goes, eat spinach. Absolutely. But Popeye, what have we got? You know, the nice part about it, with the, what are they? Fuentiren? Fuentiren. The Fuentiren, their stomach is in their abdomen. Okay. And I've got other races I'm working on. You know, that I'm starting to document. Currently, I'm at close to 120 that I've already got started. Renee, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And yes, whoops, we just about missed that. Thanks so much, Renee. Now, tomorrow, because we're in under 5 minutes at this point, tomorrow we are going to be dealing with the migration of the ancient races and what brought that about. But for tonight, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us this evening. Really appreciate the questions, and we will return again tomorrow. But tomorrow, we'll be discussing the migration of the ancient races into what you know as Hollow Earth or Inner Earth. Until then, okay, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.